In an earlier cards video, I got the algorithm to choose a deck for me, and I thought I'd take the experiment a little bit further. What if I picked my weakest factions, the ones with the least amount of cards, and put that deck to the test? How would I do? Let's take a look here today on Legendary Tactics. So I decided to continue the experiment. I did a video earlier where I had the game pick a deck for me, but this time I thought, well, let's look at my national experience, and I can see Britain is my worst nation, followed by the Soviets. So let's have the game itself build a deck for us with Britain as the main nation and the Soviets as the allies. And so I went in, I did not choose any cards, and I just said create a deck. I have no idea what's coming, so we'll see how we fare. Now I'm a cadet again, and I'm up against a sergeant. Oddly, normally you don't see too many discrepancies in level like that, but that's okay. We'll see how we do. Look at my initial hand. It's okay. The 845th is decent, but I'm going to switch out the Churchill and see if I can get a cheaper card. I did get a cheaper card, but it's a countermeasure that can pin a unit that moves into the front line. And fortunately, I'm up against the Germans, which generally have a lot of blitz tanks, so hopefully I can get a cheap kill out of it. So in this turn, I just waited. I should have activated the countermeasure potentially, but I decided just to hold on to that for now. And I pick up the National Fire Service. Again, not the best at the moment. And I want to do the 845th. And I clicked on end turn without thinking. I should have activated the countermeasure there, especially against the Germans, which have a lot of blitz tanks. And so I would have been able to take out that tank at least when it advanced to the front line with unexpected resistance, but I misplayed that. As I said, I have no idea what this deck has in it, so I'm just going to give us a supply drop. I want to make sure that it's a decent defense, and it's a guard, which is great. So 2/7 guard this early on, that's going to really be a source of consternation for those tanks. They're not going to be able to do much. Now, unfortunately, he plays breakthrough, and that removes my guard, and that is going to make it tricky. Now I pick up artillery, which is not really in a spot where this would be useful yet. So I'm going to play this tank here. I'm going to start to whittle away at the front line, see if I can buy myself a bit of space. If I can empty the front line, then I'm much more comfortable playing that artillery. But we'll have to see how that goes. And I have that Soviet tank that I can potentially zip into the front line to kind of create a barrier there behind which my artillery can hide. But so far, I'm not really blown away by this deck. It's certainly not. I'm not bolting out of the gate with it. And so we get a 3/3 now up front. And I've got my BALUCH Regiment, which is a great card in the early game. I decide to use For the King to take out that 3/3. This game is probably going to end early one way or the other, so I didn't see the need to necessarily hang on to it for long, for the rest of the game, and in the hopes that there a more powerful tank turns up. My Soviet tank there did a nice little, move to do a bit of damage to the enemy, and then my enemy sacrifices his blitz tank, and now I see, of course, the 5 strength tank, which I could have taken out with For the King, and I get another order, and I also forgot to activate my countermeasures. So yeah, just not playing this deck very well. I know that there'll be those of you in the audience sort of screaming at the screen, and I apologize for that. But anyway, I was just trying to think of how do I get that tank out of there. When do I play this artillery? And luckily, this deployment the deployment of this artillery pins an enemy unit, so it bought me a bit of time with that tank not being able to attack me. And as long as my artillery survives, I can do some damage on the with the artillery before doing my my big attack with the rest of it to take out that tank. And of course, my countermeasure just ends up taking out a 1-3. Not really worth it. I could have used that to much more effectiveness earlier, but oh well. Now, I have 2 cards in hand. My opponent has none. I don't see any really powerful opposition, and getting a Spitfire now, that gives me a little bit more confidence to go and be a little bit more aggressive. Now I have to take out this big tank. My infantry fortunately survives with 1 health. The front line is now clear, and I really don't have any options. There's, gaining health from my HQ, and just wasn't much to go with. But fortunately, my opponent doesn't have much to go with either, and so he's surveying the situation. My artillery should be able to take out that 3-3 in the back line, but he does a fair amount of damage. I, of course, pick up AA Barrage, which is, again, useless. But I definitely look powerful. That's the important thing. I think, having 4 cards in hand, my opponent has none, and there's not a lot of unit strength turning up. So I think I've definitely got the upper hand here. And just drawing 1 card at a time, unless he stumbles into some card draw or something, this unit's going to be wiped out this upcoming turn. And then after that, I don't know what else is in hand there. But I certainly look stronger with 3 cards in hand. And since we're early enough in the game, it might be mistaken for, for more greater strength. But of course, my artillery gets taken out. And so I begin to just start bombarding the HQ. And I'll get my Churchill down with a good guard. And that's going to be a good defense there for now. Again, only 1 card at a time for my opponent. And suddenly my opponent surrenders. But I'll take the victory. I think that game still could have gone either way. I don't think my opponent realized how weak I was, but I'm fine to let that illusion sit. Anyway, if you want to try a fun experiment, just have the program pick a deck for you. It's definitely an adventure. Now, I do pick up the P40 Kitty Hawk as my reward. So anyway, I hope you got some value out of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you here next time on Legendary Tactics.